Marcus Major sat out. Eric Gray was on one team. Opposite him, Jovantae Barnes. Of course, he probably, beyond Dylan Gabriel, the guy that most people wanted to see first and foremost. He got 17 carries in the game, which is really high number for a spring game, and didn't necessarily light it up statistically, but I think he showed enough, number one. Number two, I noticed that the first time he got hit, it was only the second or third play of the game. He took a pop. Like, it wasn't the typical hit that you see in a spring game. But your thoughts about Jovantae Barnes?
Yeah, I think he ran tough between the tackles, as you mentioned. I think he had 17 carries for 60 yards, maybe a couple touchdowns. So not super eye popping just from a yardage perspective, but yeah, his volume from a carries side was good. So I think he's a guy that will be interesting to see how he looks. He was already, he already came in body wise as kind of in a good spot, ready to be able to compete. And I think a summer with Schmidt, he's going to get his body. He'll be a specimen by the time he leaves, right? So, I think in looking at him, Mark, and then just looking at the overall running back room, I think it's such a far cry from where we were discussing this last year. I think Oklahoma legitimately with Gavin Sawchuk coming in and here in the summer is they legitimately have five guys that they're probably comfortable with that could play and carry the rock for a decent amount of carries and be comfortable with, right, between Barnes and Gray, and then obviously Sawchuk coming in, Tyree Walker, and obviously Marcus Major. So I think it'll be very, very interesting looking at that pecking order, as it kind of materializes through the fall. I think Gray is pretty clearly your running back one right now. I think when you look at the others, it'll be interesting. I still think Marcus Major is probably the second best running back on this team. But then you've got some battle right there. I think Barnes has kind of solidified himself really as a battle for either the backup or the third string guy. And I think the one thing to remember in Levy's offense is he's going to have a lot of guys run the ball. So would certainly anticipate some situations where Eric Gray is maybe shifted out wide, and you've got either Walker or Major or even Barnes running the ball inside and trying to get Eric Gray out in space. So yeah, I think it's a good problem that Oklahoma has right now, kind of looking into exactly that depth that they need from a running back perspective. And certainly Barnes will be a big part of that. Come mid-year, he may be 1A, 1B there with Eric Gray.